Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update for everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. So today's September 4th. So before we get started, let's go over what we talked about yesterday. So yesterday we got Gigabread. We finally got the news that the big institution or organization, I guess, whatever you want to call it, that wants to stake potentially with Rocket Pool is Consensus, which was incredibly bullish news. And then we had some stuff around the bullcast. We had people saying thanks. We had David Hoffman stopping by and trading to talk about the bullcast. We had some news about Joe's Proteus, and then we got a tease about Jasper's rETH will flip STETH SA. So today we've got an episode that features incentives quite heavily. We got this tweet from Hidden Hand saying Aura incentive added, 200 RPL tokens worth 4,726 has been added to the bribe pool for the all metastable wETH rETH gauge. And then Marceau tweeted saying that was just a test transaction. And then there was another post where there was some thousands of RPL tokens deposited into the Hidden Hand, and the incentives have begun. So what does this mean for you and me? Well, it means that rETH is now being incentivized as a trading pair on Balancer, it'll be on Balancer and Beethoven and Velo, I think, which is where we're starting, and then we'll be meeting DAOs and other projects with their tokens, depending on what they're incentivizing, to try to get them to move from wETH to rETH. We're getting money coming in from Optimism through their grant. We're getting money coming in from the PDAO, which is the community for Rocket Pool, and we're also getting money coming in from Thomas for the first month. And Thomas is the person who has the biggest number of mini pools on Rocket Pool. He's like a benevolent whale. So this next month we're getting a lot of incentives coming in, and obviously what that means is, so you pay the like groups like Hidden Hand and Redacted. These are groups that help you build your liquidity, and you pay them to get their voting rights for liquidity incentives. So what happens is you give them the RPL token, and then they use their Balancer tokens or whatever they have staked to vote on your behalf and provide liquidity incentives on your behalf. So then the question that comes up is, the one that got asked in trading, Cosmic said about that, once the bribes are deployed, should we expect a price dump for the RPL token? So Marceau had a really interesting reply to this, and he said, I actually think it'll have significantly the opposite effect. Incentives are a huge boost to RPL price. I did the math on this a while back, and the numbers were so good, I'm not sure if I believe it. So then he goes down and he shares the text from what he had. I'll read this out to you. He said, this math feels wrong. It's too positive. So that he makes some assumptions. So if we assume that 5,250 RPL is able to be incentivized mint and is able to incentivize / mint 68,000 rETH. So these numbers are based on the boost that we had in rETH minting when Tetranode was providing incentives based on his own charity, and then Marceau carries on to say that's equivalent to 4,254 mini pools if they enter at 15% collateral. That's 683,000 RPL tokens required to purchase. Assuming the incentives are sold, that's a net demand of 678,000 RPL tokens. So this goes on into trading, and a discussion comes up about how rETH is off peg at the moment, so the peg would have to be fixed first, and also how the incentives might not be that effective. But Marceau goes on to say, in my dream scenario, the liquidity incentives themselves would create a flywheel effect. So he explains rETH would get incentivized, and then that leads to new demand from mini pools, and that's net demand for new RPL. And then RPL ETH goes up, and the ETH incentives increase because then each RPL is worth more dollars or more ETH, and then that leads to more incentives, which then leads to new mini pools and so on. So he said, I think the projection based on what Tetra did, Tetra's incentives drove a ton of demand. Our incentives are also way bigger, especially for the first month. And for the first month, since we're getting Thomas to help with matching, I think he's giving 5,000 RPL tokens. And then also for the next few months, I think the next 6 months, we've got optimism grants that are giving a whole lot of money as well every month. So this was a really good discussion that came up there about how we get back onto repeg, so people start minting rETH again instead of buying it on a DEX, where they get a 1% discount. And also some really good points came up about whether that number of 68,000 rETH being minted per month based on those incentives is legitimate. It seems as though it might be, well, I don't know, like even Marceau himself says that this is like way too optimistic. So it just feels too optimistic. So even if it's half of that, it's still literally driving demand to tens of thousands of rETH per month, and which will drive demand of hundreds of thousands of RPL per month in the longer run, which is truly amazing. So that was really wonderful discussion that happened there that you can check out. Next, then we had this for those tracking, the full amount was paid for hidden hand. So Aura received incentive added 3,500 RPL tokens, currently worth 82,000, have been added to the brag pool for that pool. So it's happening right now, and in the next few days this is going to start happening and going live. And already you can see the pool right here, the rocket fuel pool, which is one of the pools that is getting these incentives. It's getting 14% APY right now. It's got total value locked of, oh no, this is the beefy one. This is like a compounding it after that. So the one that you want to have a look at is this Beethoven X. I don't have that link open. I'm not sure exactly what the link is, but you can find it quite easily. But you can see that the rewards are there, and then this one will compound it for you. The beefy pool will compound it for you. So there's a lot going on right now, which is really, really amazing. And already you can see that there's, oh, sorry, this is not what I wanted. I wanted this one right here. Already you can see that, sorry, my window's not calibrated properly, so you can't see this right now. Okay, there, I just moved it across a little bit. So if we look at the daily breakdown of rETH deposits by day, so these days right here were the ones based around the rabbit hole NFT stuff. But before that, you could see it was like 30, 20, 25, 20, 30, 20, 15, 40, 33. Like we were not getting many rETH deposits per day. And then these numbers are just complete outliers, obviously, because of the NFT stuff. And that was people depositing 0.1 ETH and minting like around 0.1 rETH. But then it goes back to normal for these couple of days here, where it's 21, 19, 30. And then what you can see here is for the last couple of days, we've been minting way more rETH. So I'm wondering if that increase right here has something to do with the, sorry, hold on a second, my video just got messed up. Let me fix that. Okay, Yeah, so I'm wondering if this has something to do with people trying to get rETH and trying to get into incentives. The main thing I'm wondering is like the amount hasn't really gone up too much, so I'm trying to figure out what that might be. So if anyone knows, let me know in the comments what that might be. But otherwise, we have next we have give me a second. Oh yeah, some information about the smoothing pool. So the last update I gave you about the smoothing pool was that it was growing quite fast. So right now we have 43% of all nodes are now in the smoothing pool, which is really wonderful to see. That's 616 nodes, and 31% of mini pools, all mini pools are now in the smoothing pool as well. So then that led to a really good discussion happening on Discord here, where Greg Pavlov said, when are these guys joining the smoothing pool? And the picture he shared was of like the biggest mini pools, the biggest node operators that we have, such as Thomas, and then Patricio's and Marco Barco's pools, and we have Maso here and like others. So this like actually led to a really good discussion where people were talking about what it should mean to be part of a mini pool, as part of the smoothing pool as a whale. And Thomas was involved in this, Maso was involved, and Maso said smoothing pool doesn't really benefit whales, it's not a product built for them, and that's okay. And what's really great is that we've already had like 40% of the 43% of nodes are now part of the mini pool, and as you can see, the number of mini pools is smaller, right? It's not proportional, it's 31%. So that's telling you that the mini pools, the node operators actually have fewer mini pools overall, and that is really great because it's showing you that a lot of the smaller people have joined, because for them it makes a huge difference that they're able to smooth their pool, right? Like here's like people with 4 mini pools and 3 mini pools. There's literally hundreds of these people with 3, 2, 4, 1, like less than 10 mini pools who are joining, because for them it really makes a huge difference to have their MEV and tip smoothed. Whereas for the whales, they have so many pools to begin with, the mini pools of their own to begin with, that they don't really need smoothing in the same way. So then Maso says, I'll probably join eventually. I think there's a benefit to large node operators, and that's around taxes. So then a little bit later, Maso kind of explains what some of the benefits and costs are for whales to join the mini pool. And he said the smoothing pool. This smoothing pool discussion is hurting my brain. Reasons for whales not to join the smoothing pool: poor MEV participation, net drag on APR, smart contract risk. Reasons for the whales to join smoothing pool: supporting the community, tax benefits. So what happens is they're able to claim the taxes at certain times instead, and that helps them. That helps them like manage their taxes the way they're paying it, and then that's it. So he said smoothing itself actually is not that much of a factor for the whales. So that was a really interesting insight into smoothing pool activity, smoothing pool uptake, and why it might be that we won't see anyone bigger than I think nextblock.eth, right? Nextblock.eth, who's the biggest at 60. I think they might stay the biggest for a while actually. So that's definitely something really interesting to keep an eye on going forward. Next we have a tweet from Maso that's actually really interesting. Maso said, on Bankless HQ, I argued that rETH is actually the highest yielding liquid staking token when adjusted for important factors such as performance, commission, risk, and taxes. Here's a rough visual calculation of why I believe rETH has 25% higher net yield than competitors. And then this is a thread that he starts. So as you can see here, the issuance is the issuance is 4.5% a year. That's the staking reward that they're getting from the protocol, and then tips. They'll be getting the same tips, and then MEV. So Coinbase haven't released a statement yet about what they're going to be doing about MEV, and it's Maso says here as well, assuming Coinbase don't participate in MEV. So overall, the total like rewards that we're getting is about 8.7, 7.7 for Coinbase, and 8.7 for Lido. Then performance factor. So here we have Rocket Pool slightly underperforming, which then impacts the yield. Coinbase is at 100%, Lido's at 99.9%. So then that impacts the gross yield here. And Butter, one of the people in the Rocket Pool community, was saying that this number for Rocket Pool is actually a little bit lower still. So it might have a slightly bigger drag on the gross yield overall. Then we have the commission rate. For Rocket Pool, it's 15%. For Coinbase, 25%. Lido, 10%. So here, like, Lido's slightly taken the advantage. And then we have the risk discount, which Lido's obviously the most off peg. Well, it's off peg right now. It has smart contract risk around social slashing and things like that. So that's something to keep in mind. And then Coinbase, obviously, is a centralized entity, and Rocket Pool has some fewer of those risks because it's not off the peg as much. And then, he gives some more information, and then finally he says post-tax adjusted yield. So this was an interesting thing that he mentioned about tax, is Lido rebases, so it gets classed as income tax. Lido does have, and then Maso does explain in the thread that Lido has the WSTETH token, which will not rebase, and it kind of accrues value the same way as rETH does, but it's 10 times smaller than STETH. It doesn't have the liquidity, it doesn't have the market presence that STETH does. ST is definitely the flagship product for Lido. So then the yield impact that has, because of the taxes that you have to pay on your earnings, and then overall you see that rETH is about 5.44%, Coinbase ETH is 4.33%, and Lido is then 4.15%. And then he does go on and explain in this thread about the caveats that go into it, but it's a really interesting idea because people have this idea that rETH charges 15%, therefore it's worse than Lido charging 10%. But there's a lot more that goes into it than just those raw numbers. So it was really cool that Maso kind of like brought some of those things to the front there. And finally, we have this comment from, well, it was kind of a discussion going on from like Dabab and Mig21 and I'm New Here, and talking about like what would happen should Rocket Pool, the protocol, do anything for people who miss attestations or proposals, because right now they get a flat percentage on their RPL yield, reward that's proportional to the RPL that they stake. Whereas, would it be more ethical to make that dock some of their rewards, right, if they're performing badly? And this kind of stemmed from that discussion of in this tweet, Maso's tweet about the normalized performance being lower than the others. Should we punish bad performers? Because even if their ETH is performing really badly, their node is performing really badly, they still get the RPL rewards. So I'm New Here says home stakers are more likely to get affected by this. And then they were saying about forced exits and what kind of punishments would happen. And it's started a really good discussion about whether or not the protocol should punish people for missing attestations, missing proposals, performing badly in sync committees, because that all is a drag on rETH performance. So no one is saying right now that this is something that's going to happen now or soon. However, it's something that the community is starting to think about how we can improve performance on our mini pools and how we can really try to get them better. So that's definitely something that is worth checking out and looking into, because it's something that might be more crucial going forward. So that on that note, this video has gone really long. So there was a lot of incentive stuff to talk about and everything. So that was really great. September is definitely going to be very exciting. It's going to be a big month ahead. But I'll finish here. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. If you're in the US, I hope you enjoy your long weekend, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.